Okay, I'm going to get started. Hi, it's 12 o'clock, so let's get going. We're talking about cellular energy and what it takes to power our cells and how important that is. I'm focusing on Green Vibrance as a way to supplement that, and I'll explain why I think that's important. So, thank you for joining me, and I'm not going to hold you up. Let's get started. So over 2,000 years ago, right, Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine. Well, I think he'd be shocked to see what we call food today and what so many people are eating today that does not resemble food. Um, all these beautiful, colorful fruits and vegetables, some wild game, things like that are how our body works, right? Those are the things that fuel our body. It's our ancient biochemistry. We have not changed. Our lifestyle has changed, what our food looks like has changed, but we have not changed. And there's so much around food, cultural things, dinner parties. Food is joy. It's a source of pleasure for people, entertaining, and it can be an expression of creativity. People love to cook with whole foods, and it's so important to cook, right? Our digestion starts as soon as we look at the food, we smell the food, we start preparing the food. All of that's so important. That's how our body works. But at its core, food serves as a fundamental purpose, and that is to provide nourishment to our bodies and ultimately to our cells. Food contains nutrients that are essential for our growth, our DNA repair, the maintenance of our body and tissues, and all these different vital processes that our body goes through. So, when we offer the body that type of food, it can get the energy it requires to function. Some of you would not be surprised to know that since just 2018, the rate of deaths from deficiencies has grown significantly. It's more than doubled. And the rate of death, in turn, has also, from these deficiencies, has significantly gone up. And that's because if our cells do not get the proper nutrients to convert into energy, they are underpowered and we are more prone to disease. So, all the cells of the body can make energy from real food through a process called cellular respiration. And by real food, right, we mean colorful fruits and vegetables, healthy fats, wild game. The cells require a constant supply of energy to maintain the biological order that literally keeps us alive. So we have these mitochondria in our cells. They're the little powerhouses of our cells that take the food we eat, the air we breathe, and they turn it into ATP, which is also called life energy. When we consume processed food, nutrient depleted foods, our cells cannot get what they need. We have a high rate of obesity in this country that is driven by these processed foods. And one of those reasons is if the cells don't get what they need from food, they will drive you to eat until they get their needs met for good function. So if they're not getting those nutrients from those processed foods someone is eating, it drives you. You're not satiated, and your brain is telling you to eat more, eat more. The cells want to stay alive. They want to get those nutrients, and they will drive you to keep eating until they get them. So here is a cell. And they are in all the tissues of our body, the organs of our body. They're carrying out daily processes that keep us alive and healthy. And we talked about those processed foods, which can actually, if you will, confuse the cells. They disrupt their normal function. And in turn, they're signaling pathways through, these high levels of sugars, salts, fats, all those things that are put into processed foods, because there is actually science done by these companies that sell these processed foods. How much sugar, fat, salt, all these things do we need to keep someone addicted to these foods? And this leads to when our cells are just getting that and they're not getting what they need, it leads to inflammation, all kinds of metabolic diseases, and potentially it's damaging our cells' health. There was a study done, which I thought was really interesting. It's a study from NIH. And what they did was they took this group of individuals, and with one group, they were feeding them processed foods, and the other group were getting whole foods. And it was very controlled what they were doing during the day and what they were eating. The group that got the processed foods consumed 7,000 more calories over the 2 weeks than the group that got the unprocessed foods because the body's hunger signals were not being satiated. And it was driving them to eat more because the cells want what they want. They want to keep us alive. So they will drive us to eat more. So when we eat, our body takes the food, breaks it down into nutrients, providing our cells with usable energy. It's really that simple. This is critical for the all the systems of the body, all the organs of the body. When cells don't receive those adequate nutrients, right? We talked about they do not get that signal. They are going to keep overeating. But the problem lies with digestion as well. If our digestion is weak, right, our cells are kind of relying on our digestion and our digestive organs to break down food so we can absorb nutrients. If this is impaired, it leads to the nutrient deficiencies, hindering the cell function. So that's something we really need to be aware of as well, is how strong is our digestion? So I want to stop there for a moment and talk about some of the things in Green Vibrance that can help with this. So digestion, for example, when Green Vibrance was created, it was focusing on nutrition, digestion, circulation, and immunity, right? The four pillars of health, looking at all those systems because all the systems of the body work together. In order to create homeostasis, we have to look at the body that way. We can't just look at one part. So, taking in the nutrients are great. You're getting all these wonderful micronutrients from Green Vibrance. They play a critical role in all these cellular processes in the body, DNA synthesis, immune function, metabolism. We don't need large amounts. That's why it's called micronutrients, small amounts, but they are essential for growth, disease prevention, and overall health, right? So we get those. But what if our digestion is weak and we can't break them down and utilize them? So in digestive vibrance, there is soluble and insoluble fiber, 25 billion probiotics, digestive enzymes, and different botanicals, ginger being one, that are all helping that digestive process, right? And it's not just that our cells won't get what they need, right? It's really important because there's a lot of things around a weak digestion. It really wreaks havoc on the body. Some signals for someone is they might have some bloating after they eat, constipation, diarrhea, heartburn, acid reflux, gas, things like that. And that's a signal, right? That something's wrong. Some signals people don't recognize that are related to their digestive health is, allergies, arthritis, any type of skin condition, acne, eczema, things like that. Different neurological issues, all of that can be also related to digestion. So it's really important that digestive supports in there. Yes, we're getting those micronutrients, which is critical as well. But that digestive function is key to make sure we can utilize them. There we go. So when talking about why we need supplementation, why would we want to incorporate Green Vibrance? Why do we need it to get those micronutrients? Well, we all know that there has been a steep decline in nutrient density, right, over the last 50 years. Really, when you think about it, most people are relying not on their gardens like we had at one time. We'd go outside, we'd pick our food, and we are getting all those incredible nutrients. The soil wasn't depleted, and there was a lot of microbes in the soil, and it was full of nutrients. The fact is now that when something gets plucked from the earth, and is going to your grocery store, first of all, we don't know how many nutrients are in it to begin with. What was the soil like? Is it from a regenerative farm? And then after about 3 days of being plucked, it loses about 30% of its nutrients. Now, that's on the average. Different things are different. Some can lose up to 90%, like spinach. So we're losing those nutrients in transport. They're typically being picked before they ripen all the way. And by the time we're eating them, I'm not sure what's actually left nutritionally. Um, there are some nutrients still in there. We are getting fiber, which is really important when we eat plant foods. I mean, we need more than that, right? Though, like for the health of our cells, health of our body, we do need fiber. We need polyphenols, all those colorful fruits and vegetables. Um, we need probiotics, because right now a lot of people have gut issues. So we need probiotics, prebiotics to make sure we're able to utilize these foods. Um, getting your omega 3s also very important. So there's a lot involved because we evolved eating wild foods, right? Wild game. And we used to eat 6,000 different plant species. Well, the average person today eats about 15 different things. So we've really limited what we eat, and we have nutrient deficiencies because of the fact that most of us are getting it from far away. I live in New Hampshire. There's no farmers markets this time of year as far as getting fresh fruits and vegetables, berries, things like that. So I have to rely on the grocery store. I eat a lot of frozen in the winter, frozen vegetables, because they are frozen a little quicker. They tend to have higher nutrients. Um, but supplementation has become necessary. So you take something like Green Vibrance to fill in those gaps of where we are missing nutrients from our diet. So due to industrial farming, we have issues. And like I said, eating fewer varieties, we have processed factory foods, which are pretty much void of nutrients. And we have higher levels of environmental toxins, lack of sunlight, chronic stress, which all means that we may not be digesting well, right? When we have stress, we're not absorbing nutrients as well. So we're not getting a lot of the things that our body needs. We want to ensure that we are. And like I say, that's where supplementation comes in. Lack of sunlight, people take D3, there's a big deficiency for that. So we have to be aware of those things and aware of our own body. We are all different in what we need. So some people need further supplementation, some people maybe not as much. So, what happens? What happens if we don't get the micronutrients? What kind of things occur? There can be reproductive health issues, DNA damage. We might have accelerated aging. It definitely, what we're talking about today, affects our cellular function. We have to get the proper nutrients for DNA integrity, preventing mutations that lead to chronic disease like cancer. So, a lot of things that happen. Fatigue is one of them. How many people come in? They're saying they're tired, they just don't have any energy. That's a huge one. Feeling fatigued, feeling tired. But it goes on, and it begins to get really critical when we're not getting what we need. Those underpowered cells are definitely more prone to disease. So Green Vibrance has been around for a long time. It's been filling in the gaps in people's diet for a long time, and I continue to emphasize filling in the gaps. I don't say to people, I've had people say, well, do I have to eat any fruits and vegetables if I take Green Vibrance? Absolutely. You should still be eating real foods. This is, like I say, filling in the gaps. But what's also important about it is the fact that it helps with circulation, circulating that food to your cells. Circulation also helps with detoxification, right? Taking waste away from our organs, which is also really important for our health. It supports immunity, which can be damaged from lack of nutrients for the cells. And that digestion, making sure that we are able to take these nutrients and actually utilize them. That's really important. So we break everything out on the label. A couple things we believe in that I think is important for you to know is that we believe in transparency, and that is why every single ingredient and every single amount is on our labels. You will not see proprietary blends. You will always know what you're getting. We also use a GMP facility, a third party testing lab. A lot of people these days are concerned about any microbiological contamination, herbicides, pesticides, heavy metals. We test for all of that. We receive certificates of analysis before we release these products to people. And that's all really important to everyone who's using the product. That's a question I get asked all the time. Um, if we do those type of tests because it is becoming more and more of a concern. In my eyes, I think people are aware that a lot of things have been hidden from them for so many years. The government approved all kinds of different foods and additives and colorings, and we're finding out how detrimental all of that has been to our health. Here at Vibrant Health, we want to be very transparent and truthful about what's in our products. We want to be in partnership with someone's health. And in order to do that, they need to know what's in the product. You can see we've kind of put it why it's in the product too. There's your immune support, fibers, skeletal support, adaptogens, liver support, why it's in there. And a lot of people take medications, they take other supplements, they may have food sensitivities. It's important that they have all the information they can have. And we want to stay with that so we can really support someone's health. We know at this point, everybody's unique, everybody's got a unique biochemistry and things that they need. But the fact remains that the one thing everybody does need is to power the cells of their body. What they eat today, our cells take in and create a new version of us tomorrow. It's never too late. Even if someone is having health issues and they've let it go for a long time, does it take time to get to what you would like to be? Yes. But every day that you eat tomorrow can be a better version. And slowly you get to where you want to be when you incorporate whole foods, wild game, lots of fiber. Diversity is key. Go to the grocery store. Some people don't even need a list. They pick the same things every time. Try to get things you haven't eaten before. Grab some kiwi, grab some, strange vegetable you've never seen before and try to cook it. Find a way to cook it. Our gut microbiome loves that. It thrives on that. And it's really important. That's where true health emanates from. We have really taken care of that as well in Green Vibrance. There's 25 billion probiotics from 12 different strains. And as you can see, I talked about earlier, those digestive enzymes that are in there, and the ginger that's in there, the cayenne that's in there, all of these things to help support digestion. Digestion is the biggest reason people go to the doctor. There's over 200 over the counter remedies that you can walk into any drugstore and pick up. However, they're not always helpful. Things like acid blockers are not helpful. We need stomach acid, cause more of a problem. So we try to make sure that that's all incorporated. We hear a lot today about people, trying to get to a healthy weight for themselves. There's things out there now that everybody is using for that. But honestly, fiber is critical. It helps us feel full longer. It helps remove toxins from the body. So, getting all these things, sometimes we can avoid going that extreme route when our body's actually getting the nutrients it needs, the digestive support it needs, the fiber it needs, right? We can support these things naturally. So, Um, that's the key points about why it's so important to provide ourselves with what they need. It's essential to prioritize real, unprocessed foods to fill in the gaps with supplementation. Go to your doctor, get testing, see what you might be lacking. You can get your omegas tested, you can get your D3s tested. There's all kinds of tests out there. See what you need, see how else you need to fill in the gaps. Be mindful of the nutrients that fuel our bodies. So, consuming those foods rich in fiber, omega 3s, protein, probiotics, polyphenols, micronutrients, this all promotes better cell function, supports immune system function, which is really a high priority for everyone at this time of year, especially. But it's always important 24/7. We're getting bombarded and our body's protecting ourselves. And it also regulates appetite, as we've learned. When the cells don't get what they want, it will drive us to eat until they do. So, given the depletion of the lack of nutrients and micronutrients in our food supply, supplementation might be necessary. And I say might because, like I say, there's every individual is different. But I would guess for most people, it is looking at the statistics of how many people are now lacking nutrients and how significant that number has gone up in the past since 2018. So, by nourishing our bodies with those right foods, we really can create conditions for healthier cells and a longer disease free life so we can live a longer life um, in a healthy way and enjoy it. So I hope I've shed some light. I can look to see if anybody has put chat a question in the chat. I don't see any. If you ever have questions for me or questions about this, you can email me. I'm Jodi Schneider at Vibrant Health, there it is, .com, and I'm happy to give you a call or answer questions by email. We're trying to do these webinars every month. If you have any ideas of something you'd like to talk about, please email me. I'm open to suggestions. So thank you for taking the time and joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks again. Bye now.